Hey everyone! Welcome back to another author pep talk here at AutoCrit. My name is Catherine. I'm a member of the AutoCrit editing team as well as one of the coaches here for Novel 90. I coach Team Pantser, and today we are going to be talking about how we always go forward with our books and never back. No, we're not talking about skipping editing. We're just talking about the drafting phase. So to kick us off today, I'd like to ask you guys to share in the chat for me. When you're writing in that first draft phase stalls, what do you do? Giving everybody a minute to drop it in the chat. What do you do when you're writing stalls? Is this a moment to go back to the drawing board? Is this a time where you go read up books you love? You try to write something else, you try to push through? There's a lot of strategies, and thank you to everybody willing to share for us here. Um, yes, lots of strategies to try to get through. Just write a little bit and hope the rest will come. Listen to music, reread what you wrote the day before exactly. So, oh, and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And a lot of us, myself included, hit days like that where we don't know what to do. We don't know how to move forward. And so, in those instances, a lot of times we look back. And looking back looks different to different people. But there's a reason for it. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about why you need to recognize when you are doing it so that you can course correct and start moving forward again instead of getting caught up in this cycle of starting over and looking backwards. So, where are my planners at? Coach Kat's team planner. Give yourselves a shout out. There we go. Team planners, team planners. So for those who are new to this term, a planner is someone who likes to plan as much as possible, usually before their pen ever hits the page, before their fingers ever touch the keyboard. Our planners have a lot of time and investment in their outlines. And so when a planner gets stuck, it is not uncommon for a planner to look back because their first thought is often not something about their draft has gone awry, but something about their outline must have been wrong. So they might think something like you see on the screen here. There must have been something wrong with my outline or one of the many separate, exposés on my characters or world on the side that I need to go redo. And because the planners immediately default to thinking something was wrong in the outline, the temptation is there to scrap everything you've done, which could be weeks or months or even years worth of work. Because if the outline's the problem, you can't keep building on top of a faulty foundation. And so they want to bulldoze the whole thing and start over. But what planners forget is that your outline isn't a foundation. Your outline is just a brainstorming tool. And when you take the outline and put it back in its proper place, it makes it easier to look at the actual problems that are in this moment, which are internal, external factors, or story factors that have nothing to do with the outline you have spent all this time on. Planters. Planters are people who plan a little and free write a lot. Sometimes this is because they start out pantsing, which is what I do over here on the Pantser team. They start with an idea of a scene and then they realize they need more structure. But sometimes they start in with a loose outline or a beat sheet or something like that, and then they try to stick within those boundaries. But typically, when planters stall, they stall because the story is starting to feel like a mess. You have any planters on? And if we do, have you ever come across a time where your story just felt like a mess with little Camille, the capybara, up here with her broom, trying to sweep up after you? And so, similar to planners, planters think that an outline or a beat sheet or some form of structure can help them fix what has them stalled in this moment. They think I should have had more structure going in. Now I have to clean this mess up. And because that feels so daunting, the temptation lies in erasing the whole thing, exactly like the planners. Going back to a tighter beat sheet, a more fleshed out outline, and hoping that that sets their next try up for success where this try doesn't. But similarly to the planners, you are operating under this false idea that this outline is the foundation for your work when it's really just a brainstorming tool and a guide for your work. And when you try to replace a foundation with a guide or brainstorming tool, you put undue pressure on it and you have expectations for it that it can never possibly meet. An outline can never develop a perfect first draft. We have to get past that perfection if we're going to move on. And then we have our pantsers. Come on, pantsers, I know you're here. There we are, pantsers, pantsers, pantsers. Pantsers plan nothing. The whole reason we write is to discover a story. Maybe it was a great scene we had a dream about, an idea that popped into our head while we were driving home from work, something that we overheard while we were sitting on the subway, and now we can't stop thinking about how this could work if it was in a fantasy world. We take these ideas and then we start writing to discover the story. But pantsers tend to stall when we've gotten enough scenes onto our unorganized, non-chronological pages that we think this is a mess, similar to our pantser friends. But we're not going back to outlines. What we do is go, this is such a mess. I'm frustrated trying to keep everything straight. Maybe I should just write something else. And this is even more dangerous than going back and starting over, friends, because we're not going to try to fix it with an outline. We know that doesn't work for the way our brains are wired. So we let our little pesky squirrels, like Simon back there, poke their head out into our ideation spaces. And it's like, look, I have this shiny little light bulb, and you should come over here and write with me, and it'll be fun, until it is also messy. And pantsers, myself included, are professional collectors of half-written dreams. We need to get to the end of a dream, and we can't do that if we keep abandoning it because it's starting to feel cluttered. We are not planners. It does not have to be organized. We have to embrace our chaos. The reason all three teams look back, that most writers in general look back, if you strip out the writing style, the planning style, is because it's natural to analyze something that we deem to be a failure. And when we stall, it sets off these warning flags that, failure is coming in fast. Failure's in the works here. The truth of the matter is, we are misidentifying a productive struggle that will grow us as authors, that will grow our ability to write through slumps and walls. And instead, we are viewing it as a failure simply because it is hard. Misidentifying productive struggles as if they are failures before we've actually failed sets us up to avoid important things that could help us grow. If you do not face the struggles that are keeping you from writing this draft right now, I guarantee you, you will run into this exact same problem again and again and again and again. Why? Because this is a lesson in something that you personally have to overcome. Maybe it's external distractions. Maybe it's an internal imposter syndrome demon like I have on my shoulder. Maybe it's a mix. Maybe there's past failures that are whispering in your ear that you're never going to be better. Whatever it is, if you can't learn to push through that thing and conquer it, you're just going to end up back here again. We don't want you to end up stalled and walking away from work, or restarting and then walking away from work again and again and again. We want you to know the difference between productive struggles and actual failures. A failure is something that you did not meet. It is that clearly defined black and white goal. I set this specific measurable goal. We've talked about this the last few weeks in our pep talks. I set this specific goal. I made sure it was not a weaponized goal. That was in a separate pep talk, that it was a productive goal, and I have already failed to meet it. So now I need to course correct. That is a failure. A productive struggle is a goal that still has the opportunity to be met, but it is becoming hard. It is challenging. It hurts. It is pushing you into situations that are making you uncomfortable, that are tempting you to reprioritize where your writing project is falling in your list of important things in your life. And it is an opportunity for growth. Growth only comes through rising up and surviving challenges. It does not come from backing down every time we hear the failure bell dinging in the background. So I say this to myself just as much as I say it to you. Preparing the pep talk this week was really hard because I struggle with this a lot. So I feel you, I see you, you are not alone. But feel of failure is not the same thing as actually failing. Not even if you're headed down a path that's led you to failure before. Not even if everybody around you is saying you're just going to fail again. Fear of failure is not the same thing. You have not failed yet, friend. Pick yourself up. If I can give you anything and you walk away with it today, it's that you are here because you know this is worth it and you know that you are worth this as a writer, which means you have not failed. You have not walked away. So let's get up. Let's dust off. Let's course correct. Let's move on and put failure in its own side place and not put it as a rock in our backpack as we go through this journey. Coach Kat has a saying that I asked permission to borrow for today, and that's always forward, never back. I think that's especially poignant since it's coming from a planner, the epitome of someone who would look back to try to fix going forward. We always move forward in our bookish projects. We resist the temptation to start over. So how exactly do we pull this off? You know, it's easy to talk about it in theory. It's way harder to live it. So let me break it down. Planners. Got Camille the capybara back over here with all the sticky notes. Kat, of course, is known for sticky notes on Team Planner. Notate now. Correct it later. You don't have to stick your head in the sand like an ostrich and pretend that there is no such thing as an issue in your plot or your character development or your world or whatever it is about your outline that made you want to go start over. But you don't need to start over, or you will never move forward beyond this point in your drafts. What you need to do is leave yourself very detailed planner-like notes on stickies, on spreadsheets, in your AutoCrit account, in the note boards. Leave yourself notes with chapters and paragraphs and what kind of changes you had wanted to make, and then move on. Notate it, which means it's acknowledged. It will not be forgotten. It will be fixed in your first round of edits, and then press on with the story with that fix in mind. You do not have to restart your plan from scratch. You only have to adjust the impacted portions to continue writing forward. That is how you embrace a chaos draft as a planner. Adjust the sections that will be impacted because of this change so that you don't have to correct the whole book, just what came before it, and then move on. Notate minor things. Do not change them while you are drafting. Now, we always have exceptions to the rule. People who say I do the strategy where I write and then I edit what I wrote the day before in the morning and then I write new. If that works for you, great. The majority of us cannot do that. The majority of us will get stuck in this mire of constantly writing and revising, and we call that analysis paralysis. So unless you know that you can stop editing after just one morning, notate, move on. Planters, the tip I received for you was to structure next steps and then hop back to those holes that you hopped over later. So if you've reversed outline to take your pantsed scenes and give them some semblance of structure, that is going to show that there are holes. This is not the time to go plug those holes in. Save that for the developmental edit phase. This is the time to look ahead from what you actually have. And now that you know what you have, write forward. And like the planners, keep notes on things that you would like to correct once you hit to post, the post phase as well. Pantsers. We need to embrace the carrot strategy. I've shared this before to corral all of our squirrels. Pantsers need to refocus on the fact that the whole reason we write is to discover stories. When a pantser starts letting planner tendencies come in, that leads to an identity crisis in our creative process, which makes us go, oh, it's a mess. That is often what stems that feeling that our work is a mess or chaotic. But it is meant to be chaotic. That is why you are a pantser. So you can use a reverse outline, or what I call a beat sheet bingo card, where you say, here's all the core information that should be in the story. And as you write a scene, you put it in that bingo card so that you know you're making progress and you're not writing aimless words. But ultimately, the whole reason you are here is to discover what you're writing. The first draft isn't supposed to make sense early on. It's supposed to come together the more we write. So embrace the chaos. Don't shame yourself for it being a mess, and keep writing so that you get to those aha moments. You're creating a jigsaw puzzle in pieces, not one nice puzzle that you then cut and then spread around, right? You're creating the individual pieces, and then we are going to assemble the puzzle in the editing phase. So all those squirrels that are running around, I consider a plot bunny something about the current story that takes me off track, and a squirrel something that is for a completely unrelated story that is trying to get me to write it instead, okay? I corral my squirrels and let them out in the form of darlings. If I meet today's goals or this week's goals, I will then let myself write in my carrot project, one of those squirrel projects, for as much as I want the rest of that time. If I can finish ahead of schedule, then I get to do what I want on the squirrel project, and it all works out. You keep in mind why our brains are misfiring this information that you're failing, the failure's coming, and instead put it into perspective and put it into its proper place. In order to do any of these things, though, you have to understand that self-honesty is the only way to make forward momentum. I can't, from outside of you, tell you why you are stalled. If you text me, if you text Kat or Becca, and you go, I'm really struggling, chances are extremely high that the first thing we're going to ask you is this inspiration or life or something else? We are trying to get you to share with us which of these reasons on this screen are the reason you are struggling with your work, because they have to be tackled different ways. External reasons: life hits too hard. A family member gets sick or passes. Friends move away. Your writing community quits meeting. You lose a job. You start a new job. Partner loses a job or starts a new job. Your kids start school or leave school or move out of home. Life hits hard because life doesn't stop just because we're writing. Physical exhaustion can make us tap out too. We cannot pour out of a well that is empty emotionally. If we are pouring everything we have into recovering from an illness or an injury, or trying to just barely survive with the 4 hours of sleep we're getting a night, where are we supposed to have the capacity to take on creating whole worlds in words? Exhaustion. Emotional reasons crop in here as well. Fear of failure, the fear of that imposter syndrome can take us down. And then there's mental reasons why we stall out. Our motivation goes on mutiny. We hit writer's block. We hit the slumps. And so what I shared today, these tips here for pantsers and planters and planners, is specifically craft related. But we have an entire series of pep talks built specifically for these other things that could be stalling your progress. There is not a one solution solves all writing bandage that I can give you that is going to magically bring back every person on this call's words, muses, or motivations. It all comes down to you. Your ability to be honest with yourself is going to determine the true reason that you're struggling, whether you are actually failing or just in a growth opportunity with the productive struggles. And you can't climb out of a rut or learn a lesson that you're trying to learn through a struggle if you are not honest with yourself about why you got in the rut and what exactly the lesson is. So you have to sit down, take 15 or 30 minutes, sit down with yourself and ask yourself those questions, right? Is it external? Is it physical? Is it emotional? Is it mental? Why exactly am I stalled right now? If it is not going to be told to anybody but you should have the answer. Is it multiple things? Do you need to be trying multiple things to get yourself back to where you can write the way you want, to move forward without starting over? Because at the end of the day, no matter which of those reasons you're in, starting your book over or starting a new book will not solve the problem. You are going to come back to this same list of 4 things again and again and again, every single project. So do not start over. Do not go back. Pinpoint the problem, fix the problem, and move forward. Or pinpoint the problem, like in the case of imposter syndrome, there's no fix. I wish there was. If you figured it out, tell me. Find the problem, make a battle plan for coping with the problem, and then move on, right? That is our main goal. So I mentioned before, we have an entire series of free pep talks that are going to tackle most of these reasons in those 4 categories. Wrangling your writing distractions, to imposter syndrome, to analysis paralysis, where you keep going back and restarting your outline over and over, your book over and over, failures and myths that we tell ourselves about not really being writers or not actually having valuable words. All of those things are available in the Pep Talk playlist here on YouTube, and they're all free. So go identify where your struggles are, and then maybe watch a pep talk or 2 that aligns with your specific struggles. And then make an action plan, make a battle strategy for how you're going to move forward. I'm going to leave us off with this today. At the end of the day, we have to believe in ourselves. You have to believe in yourself in order to believe other people about yourself. I can tell you all day, every day, that I know you can do this without a shadow of a doubt, that I believe in your project. But if inside you don't believe in yourself and you don't believe your project is worth writing, will you believe me? Even if I'm known for being brutally honest, will you believe me if I give you praise if you feel like your work is crap? No. So start there. Find belief in yourself and in your work so that then you can objectively take what other people say into consideration about yourself and about your work. So we're going to wrap up. If you are not already in the Novel 90 Writing Challenge, this is a free writing challenge that is going on until August 31st. We would love to have you. We are in writing month right now. You have coaches like Kat and Becca and I to help. You have teams to commiserate with. We will help encourage you, and we will hold you accountable as much as you want to be accountable along the way to make these things happen. We want to see you succeed in all of these things, and we really do believe you can. If you have any questions, go ahead and send us a text or an email to support@autocrit.com or hit that help bubble in the bottom right corner of the AutoCrit site. We'll be happy to help. Go get those words, everybody. Bye.